So we had a good week for the US markets. There has been a lot of tentativeness in the markets with the semiconductor stocks correcting over the last several weeks. I would say more than a month. There was some semblance of returning to sanity this week over the last few days with the S&P going to its all-time high, and we found that the AI-related stocks did stage a comeback, particularly with the artificial intelligence, the SpaceX types. They began to come back. Now, there's a great amount of new news that is going around, particularly with Mujtaba Khamenei, the current Iran leader, reportedly not so doing well health-wise. All this may appear to be innocuous at present, but should there be some more reports coming in that can impact markets, not right away, but I think in times to come, as far as I can from the sources that we have and the information we have, that can have some impact on the markets. Secondly, the capex boom pertaining to AI continues at a furious pace, and you're seeing many companies begin to borrow from the private market. All this has got its limitations. There will be a point of time when it will become difficult to raise so much money without the interest rates going higher, and that I think will be a tremendous amount of have tremendous amount of impact on the US stock market valuations, particularly the AI story. In fact, a substantial portion of the US stocks is driven by the AI related capex boom, so be very, very cautious here. Now, what will be the point? You may ask me, what will be the point of time at which this inflection can happen? There will be a point of time when this inflection can happen, and can we figure it out? Yes, we can. A lot of the inflation data has been relatively benign. Mark my words, relatively benign within the United States, which means to say that people have been trying to get the old inventory. What is being sold to the consumers has been substantially old inventory imported from the past. In fact, we were going around looking at many of the electronics chains as to the microwaves, the computers, when they were manufactured, when they were shipped. All these appear to be pretty old, and I can see, I'll tell you something, but I'm telling you that nobody will tell you. A lot of this inventory is now getting depleted. Even when I was looking for an electric shaver, I was just looking. It's something that was made so long back, more than a year and a half. And I was seeing that the shelves are now getting empty. So this is something people tell us, that how you gather all this information is not only from the monetary data that the U.S. Federal Reserve, that various publishing agencies bring out, the Bureau of Consumer Affairs and others, Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, all these things are there. But in addition to this, we go to the ground and we see what is going on, and then we decide. Now, all this can begin to change. For example, the Senate has just passed a Lindsey Graham bill which will impose 100% tariff on those countries which continue to import oil from Russia. So primary among them being something like China, but then what doesn't come from China? Right? Everything comes from China. India. So all these types of there, if you recollect, even in the past, whenever there has been some new type of tariff that has been imposed on China, they have retaliated in their own way. Now, and the way the Chinese authorities retaliate is through rare earths. They try to curb it, they try to bring it to a standstill, things like that. Now, if that happens, that these rare earth elements, there has been a contract between the US and China, particularly that was formed up during President Trump's recent visit to China and meeting the Chinese Premier Xi Jinping. All this can start to fall apart, and because China has a monopoly over the rare earths, all this can impact the US markets also, because then all these different things, AI related tools, in which these rare earths are being used, that will become difficult to make. Particularly, you have these Apple products and the microprocessors, and many of these rare earths are used. All this can be an impact. And then what may happen is, I'm just taking this story much further. China may now begin to retaliate in some other way. So there is the integrity and the honesty of Lindsey Graham's intention to stop the Russia-Ukraine war, which is a noble objective. There's nothing wrong. It's perfectly good. But the impact that this can have on world financial markets can be quite dramatic, because all this new penalties, new taxes can end up increasing the import costs, can drive up the inflation much higher. Once the inflation goes up, you find that interest rates will also start going up. And President Trump's intention of bringing the interest costs, interest rates down, that again will be quite impacted with these highly priced imported goods which will begin to come in. Already, if you go and look around, even basic necessities, they are inching higher. Gas prices continue to remain resilient and at very high levels. So you still see nothing less than $4 for a gallon in the US. All this is going to feed into inflation and lead to a problem down the road sooner rather than later. If China retaliates in a different way, I think there is a sign of that. One other player, once it enters into the global arena, other than this Iran, Israel, United States, I think, and Russia, Ukraine. Other than that, many countries have been they've been more impacted, like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. But should there be any of them coming out with their own agendas, their own way of fighting their devils, so as to say, that can upset the apple cart, and the chances of all this happening over the next several months looks to be high, in my opinion. You'll ask me the question, when do you think this can happen? Can you pinpoint the exact point of time this can happen? Yes, I can, because I know exactly the timeline in which this whole thing is going to unfold, and would be happy to share it with you. For the US markets, we have done immense groundwork to be able to foretell all this. But I'm telling you what can happen over the next several weeks and months, and even years. We've gone as far as 5 years from here to tell you how the economies can change, how the world financial markets can change. For the US markets, you can join our premium, a Prime Plus Telegram group, and which where I give you a week to 2 weeks forecast of the US markets. You can WhatsApp us on 732 For the Indian markets, you can WhatsApp us 982 Have a great investing week. Take care. Bye-bye.